Well, good morning. It is good to be with you today as we get started on a Thursday. Wow. We we are absolutely zipping through this week. Just an amazing thing, but that's the way it goes. Good to be here with you. I hope your day's starting off well, or if you're jumping in at other times to watch the recording, hope things are going well. So, good morning. We've got Jane and Jackie and Kathy. Aloha, Kathy. My goodness. Darmy, Linda, Ted, and Norma Jean. You guys are just amazing. Jumping right in here as we get underway. It's just so nice to know that there's that crazy breakfast club right there every morning. I appreciate you guys very much. So we are here in Luke chapter 13, actually really at the end of this chapter, and we're looking at just some very powerful stuff here. You know, every time I read this particular section, it's like, oh man, I am challenged to my core personally, okay? I mean, this may be no big deal for you, but this is definitely something that I haven't experienced yet, and I want to. So what am I talking about? Well, I'll tell you. So this is Luke 13, and starting in verse 31. Just at that time, some Pharisees came up, saying to Jesus, "Go away, depart from here." It's, I'm sorry I'm laughing, but it's like I'm just picturing this in my mind. These guys, they're sick of him. It's like, just would you just please leave? Because he just totally is messing up their power structure. Everything that they've carefully put in place, where they're at the top of the pyramid, they're on the top of the mountain, right? And he just comes in and just knocks everything out, and there now everything's just messed up. So it's like, would you just please go? So go away, depart from here, for Herod wants to kill you. Now, I mean, maybe there were a few Pharisees that were trying to be nice and say, you know what, but it's hard for me to imagine that. Herod wants to kill you. Oh, really? Really? So tell me something I don't already know, I'm sure is what Jesus is thinking at this point, right? And so Jesus says to them, "Go and tell that fox. Behold, I cast out demons and perform cures today and tomorrow, and the third day I reach my goal. Nevertheless, I must journey on today and tomorrow and the next day, for it cannot be that a prophet should perish outside of Jerusalem." So, oh man, that's a sad truth concerning Jerusalem, that so many things happen there, that in that city, right, which translate the name, right, it's the city of peace, right, and yet so much violence was done against men of God who were sent to bring the word of the Lord into that area. So he next, this is where I find the challenge to my own heart. "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who sent, or just stones those sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together, just as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you would not have it. Behold, your house is left to you desolate, and I say to you, you shall not see me until the time comes when you say, Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." Oh my gosh. I mean, when I read that and I recognize the depth of Jesus' heartbreak, right, over Jerusalem and over the fact that this people whom God chose to be his very own, right, a people for his own possession, are so stiff-necked, so stubborn, that over and over and over again they would reject those who were sent to them with words of life, words of freedom and testimony and power, right? And Jesus, in looking toward Jerusalem, knowing that he was going there to again be a sacrifice for the nation of Israel, of course, his being the ultimate sacrifice, and having in him, this sense of desire, this real desire for them to get it, to finally get it. And it's almost like you can feel him weeping over Jerusalem. And I don't know if he was, that's the sense I get, that he, in thinking about Jerusalem and now, just kind of crying out, oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, what's it going to take for your people, the people of God to finally understand, right? And just that level of angst, that good German word, angst, where you're so stirred to the very depth of your being over something that is wrong and needs to be dealt with, and yet you feel like, what can I do? What can I do, right? Now, of course, Jesus knew that ultimately the will of God was going to prevail, and his will would be done, and God would open the door for all of mankind to be restored back to him. And so it wasn't from a position of despair, that he's crying out in this way. But what challenges me, honestly, about this is, what do I feel that level of burden? It's even hard to put into words for me. Where am I burdened to that extent? Because remember, we're looking at this life of Christ as our shared life with him. So if this was the way he responded to the unbelief, right, that was in his own nation, in his own people, I'm like, wow, where have I done that, Lord? And I don't know that I've done a lot of that. I'm sure some of you know what this feels like. I have had, this level of burden, this level of desire over certain people, certain situations, but it never to this extent where, I am so burdened for a city or a country, even America. I mean, yes, I stand in agreement with with the word of the Lord and with his will for the U.S. And if you're, Ted, I know you're from Germany, and others that may be from other parts of the world, there's a burden of the Lord for every area, because he wants his kingdom to come and be established in every area of the earth, right? The prophecy is that this gospel of the kingdom will be preached as a testimony, and then the end will come. It's the knowledge of the glory of the Lord that will cover the earth as the water covers the sea. And all of that speaks of his overarching desire for every single person on the face of this earth to know him, to experience the reality of his love, of his presence, and of the kingdom of God itself. And so, I read this passage and I say, wow, I really have not experienced this level of that kind of a burden for, a country, a geographic area, or whatever, however you want to define this thing. And so that's a challenge. And so my response when the Lord brings this around again, it says, Lord, show me where you want me to carry a burden for that kind of a situation, such as we see here in the life of Christ. And I believe that he will, that there'll, come a point in time where that I will have a greater measure of burden for some area, be it a city. I mean, there's a city here in New Jersey that I have spent a lot of time in. It's a fairly large city, and you know, I was based there for ministry for many years, did many things there in terms of outreach, to the streets, and just various kinds of ministry to that particular city. And I feel in my own heart a connection to that place. I feel a desire to want to see, you know, the 100,000 plus people that live in that city to come into this relationship with the Lord and be freed and healed and everything. And I believe that God, you know, well, let's put it this way. My hope is that He will open a door for us to go back there. Right? When I was led to leave that city and to function in a different location in this state, it was wonderful. We had great times, but I can honestly say I never felt any deep, I don't know, calling or burden for that place. It was almost like, okay, we're here. This is kind of like our wilderness thing where, you know, we're on a journey to get somewhere. This is not where we're called to actually plant roots. Whereas this other city, I could definitely see roots being planted, right? And so, you know, I'm just being totally honest with you about my process in coming to grips with what I see happening here in the life of Christ. I believe that He wants for us all to carry the Father's heart to that degree where it's like, okay, God, yes, these people, you love them so much. You want so much for them to be freed and healed and brought into relationship with you so they can know you and know how awesome you are. You know, that that kind of a burden, which again, it's there, but it's not, I don't feel like it's where Jesus was and what He was experiencing here as He was, you know, thinking about where He was about to go. He was about to go to Jerusalem, and he just bursts out into this lament, you know, this lament. It's like, wow, you know, what about that? You know, Lord, are we supposed to lament over cities and places and situations? I've done that again over certain people and situations where I've just really felt His desire for that person, that situation, and you know, I mean, I think most of you that are watching, you know what that feels like. You know that it's an interesting kind of pain, you know, where you know, it's like, oh yes, God, something has to happen, Lord. You know what? This is wrong. It's got to get fixed. And when we feel that, right, it's because He's giving us the privilege of carrying His heart for that person, that situation, that place, you know, whatever it might be. You know, I guess all I'm saying is I want more of that. I really do. I want to know that I'm carrying whatever level of His heart for whatever arena that I've not yet fully tapped into. Okay, I'm willing. Because I think that, you know, that our authority in Christ is somehow tied to that. In other words, our ability to be change agents in these kinds of situations and places and whatnot, I really believe it's tied to having that level of prophetic burden for that spot, that area, that city, that state, country, whatever it might be. And I want to know more of that. I want to be able to flow in that, you know, in my own life. And so I, you know, once again, Lord, give me your burden for the place that you really want, you know, for me and for our ministry to be focused on. And not that that can't change down the road, because, hey, He's God, right? And so He can move us wherever He wants. And so Jesus here describing this thing, and I love the the picture here that he paints with his words. He says, "How often I wanted to gather your children together, just as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you would not." You would not. I mean, you can just feel, the sorrow that's in that statement, where it's like, you're not getting it. There's so much here that is available to you, and you're just refusing, right? Powerful stuff. It's amazing. Let me take a minute real quick to once again mention that we are hosting what I think is going to be one of the most amazing gatherings that we have ever done this coming Saturday at 12:30 over at the Harvest Training Center in Cranford, New Jersey, 69 Myrtle Street. It's called Tear Off That Veil. And it's basically a seminar in which you will encounter God in a way that I don't think you probably ever have, because we are going to attack every hindrance, every block, everything that you think is interfering between you and having the kind of close relationship with the Lord that is in your own heart. You know you want that. You know you want to feel completely free and accepted and loved by Him, but yet we always seem to deal with these things that are these feelings of guilt and shame and unworthiness and fear that just come in and prevent us from really knowing Him the way He wants to be known. So Roger and Robin Fields, Gary Fishman, Lisa Perna, and I are going to be really ministering these truths on Saturday. It's $20 registration fee. You can pay at the door if you don't want to register online. Starts at 12:30. So if you're in the area and you want to come out, I would highly recommend it. I believe it's going to be life-changing for many, many people. All right, so Jesus in this passage is just so lamenting, the lack of response by the Jews, and so from here we're actually going to jump into John chapter 10, because there's a little section here that goes along with once Jesus reaches Jerusalem, right? We just heard him express his burden for Jerusalem. And in John 10:22, it says, "At the time the Feast of Dedication took place in Jerusalem. It was winter, and Jesus was walking in the temple in the portico of Solomon." So he's there, he just gets there, right? He's in the temple, walking around. And the Jews, therefore, gathered around him and were saying to him, "How long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Christ, tell us plainly." Jesus answered them, "I told you, and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Father's name, these bear witness of me, but you do not believe because you are not of my sheep." Right? So what is he saying? He's saying to them, I am who I say I am. I and the Father are one, right? And in that statement, he is illustrating and demonstrating how he carries the heart of the Father. And in doing the things he did, saying the things he did, he over and over and over again demonstrated to these people the reality of what God was offering them. The truth of what was possible if they would just simply believe him, right? They don't believe him, so what do? They start to grab the stones again because they're going to stone him. And he comes back and says, "Well, what are you stoning me for? I showed you many good works from the Father. For which of these good works are you stoning me?" And they say, "Well, we're not stoning you for a good work, but for blasphemy, because you, being a man, make yourself out to be God." Jesus answered them, "Has it not been written in your law, I said you are gods?" If he called them gods to whom the word of God cannot, or rather the word of God came, and the scripture cannot be broken, do you say of him whom the Father sanctified and sent into the world, you are blaspheming because I said, I am the Son of God? If I do not do the works of my Father, do not believe me. But if I do them, though you do not believe me, believe the works, that you may know and understand that the Father is in me, and I in the Father. Now, what does this mean for you and I? Quite simply this, that when we are connected with the heart of the Father, the burden of the Lord for anything, we are carrying his heart. See, that's something that we've got to embrace. We've got to recognize that, okay, I'm feeling this. I am upset over this because he is. Because that's his heart. He wants people to know the truth and be freed, right? He wants people to be healed. He wants the kingdom to be established. I keep saying this over and over again, but that's what we're talking about. The fact that, when Jesus said the Father is in me and I am in him, well, we get to say Jesus is in me and I am in him, and we are in the Father together. It's a Trinity sandwich here. And in that reality, right, we get to carry his heart. And carrying his heart means that we get to actually release what is in his heart. Because, you see, his heart is not just simply, this feeling of lamentation and desire for more, from a distance. No, his heart is intimately engaged in seeing what he wants, what his will is to be accomplished. So for you and I, oh my goodness, it's like, I want that. We need to pursue having the burden of his heart, carrying, all that matters to him, you see. And thankfully, he only gives us a small piece of what matters to him. No one can carry all of that. It would crush us to carry all of his heart. Maybe Jesus could do it, as a perfect human being. But for each one of us, no. He gives us a certain piece, certain subset of what matters to him. Each one of us gets to carry. And how do you know what that is? Well, when you look at the world around you and at the folks that are around you, what gets you stirred up? What makes you feel even angry and upset over, wow, this is wrong. This needs to be changed. When you feel that, you're feeling the very heart of the Father for that person or for that place. And it's that enables and empowers us to actually go forth and be the solution, to be the answer. Even as Jesus was, he came and he became the answer to the entire world's problems, right? Well, that's what we get to do on a smaller scale. So that's why I want to be able to know the burden of his heart and to look at a place and go, wow, man, these people are so in bondage. They're so afflicted and oppressed by the enemy and the lies of the enemy. That God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do in this situation? Because that's our calling, right? That's our calling. To carry his heart, to know what his heart is for a person, a group of people, a place, whatever that might look like, and know that because I feel that, because I have that, okay, what's the game plan? What's the strategy? And that's where I am personally. I'm in a season of transition into a whole new arena of life and ministry. And so I guess that's probably why this is hitting me so hard, today, because I realize that God is shifting my focus, and that in that shifting, there's going to come a greater revelation of his heart for the very people that I will now be working with to help set them free. And I can begin to feel that. I can begin to see that. based on the things that he's been showing me this year and the things I've been learning as I've been studying and researching and realizing that, oh my gosh, how many are out there who are absolutely crushed by the burdens of life, the stresses and the anxieties and the fears and all of these things that are robbing people of the kind of life that he wants for us all to enjoy. Right? So that's a huge key for all of us to find, well, where is our niche? What are we called to do? Why are we here? What's that big purpose and destiny? And what I found is that for a lot of folks, you can't even begin to do that because you're so overwhelmed with life, so overwhelmed with your circumstances that you can't see. It's like this huge wall that surrounds you, and you can't see above that wall to get a glimpse of what's beyond that. What does the future hold? What is it? Why is it that you're here? Because all you can do is survive from day to day, week to week, or whatever. So, I don't know. This was quite a rambling dissertation today. I hope you at least understand and got something out of, my disjointed trying to explain, where I am in this thing of hearing Jesus crying out over Jerusalem and knowing that that's part of our calling as well, to catch and to carry his heart in whatever situation he shows us. And I want that, and I hope you do too. So, wow, there you go. My goodness. Let me say good morning to those of you that jumped in here after I started talking. Let's see, where did we leave off? Okay, I think we got Karen and Patrick and Cleophie, Maria, Candy, Amanda. Wow, look at all you guys here. Susan. Oh, Abdel, how are you, man? It's been a long time. Don, Allison. There's Scotty, Marcos, Maria, how are you? Pete, good morning. Patricia, Patty, how you doing? Glebson, oh my goodness. Tudo bem. How are you, my friend? It's been a long time. I haven't been to Brazil in a while. Elaine, let's see. Who else do we have? Chuck, and I think that's, nope. I thought I was done scrolling. Regina, good morning. Jack. Fred, and I think that's good. Wow, thank you, Don. I appreciate that. Well, thank you all. I am so blessed and honored to have you along with me for this edition of Breakfast with Jesus. Thank you to each of you that is sharing this with your friends. I love, again, I say this all the time, but I really do love seeing new names pop up as we gather together in this way. As always, please feel free, if you have questions and thoughts you'd like to share, you can send me an email, you can send me a Facebook message, and I'd love to chat. So have an awesome day, and hey, maybe that burden, that heart of the Lord will start to burn a little bit more in you today as you look about and see what's going on and see the people that he's put you in the midst of. That's going to be my heart cry as well. Hey, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a lovely day, and thanks again for hanging out. Talk to you soon.